morning mga katribu. Welcome to Straight Talk. It's again Wednesday. And here in our program, we tackle the issues that matter to every Filipino. I'm Chito Lozada.
And I'm Teddy Montelibano. We are live on Daily Tribune's Facebook, Tribune now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok.
So today we talk about infrastructure, innovation, particularly in transportation consulting and road development.
Our guest is a world-renowned civil engineer and global consultant whose work spans Africa, South America, Australasia, and Southeast Asia, including the Philippines. He is the chief engineer of Anyways Solutions Limited and a leading voice in sustainable road conditions.
So let's welcome Mr. Alex Campbell. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you for joining us here in Straight Talk.
Chito and Ted, thank you very much for having me online.
Yeah. Nice
Yes.
for you to be here.
Yeah. Do we go straight to the heart of the matter?
Yeah, we dig right in.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Well, you have a proposal. You have a proposal for the government to do this major infrastructure project, EDSA, which is the main artery of here in Metro Manila.
In Metro Manila.
For main artery for roadways for transportation. Very important. What is the proposal that you have, sir? Alex?
Great, thank you. Having spent many a day in Manila, we have a regional office there, and to have engineers that we use on our global projects, spending time in Manila is always spent on the EDSA. So the proposal that we have is related to trying to help President Marcos Jr. with accelerating the project timelines of the EDSA rehabilitation project by getting more information related to the project so that we can streamline that process. It's going to be a headache for the citizens of the greater Metro Manila. So if we can minimize that headache, then that's our objective.
Yeah, the proposal was to rebuild EDSA for 2 years.
And that was the original.
That was the
original. The original vision. That was original plan envisioned by the DPWH.
DPWH.
And
then Marcos,
closing EDSA for 2 years is wow.
that
That is really something.
That would be hell
Just
for most
imagine.
Filipinos.
I don't know how they're going to be chaotic.
It will be.
And I think that the president in the last minute was a little bit worried that
Sure. I mean, every citizen should be
2 years
a
should
little
be too much.
concerned. The amount of time that people commute into and out of the greater Manila area on the EDSA, spending hours on EDSA, and that's when it's in a functioning state. So now that we are looking to not necessarily reconstruct, but rehabilitate, so fix it, upgrade it, make it safer. That's going to involve closing some sections or potentially closing some lanes, and that will significantly impact commuter traffic. And rightly so, the government is looking at it and thinking maybe there's a better way. And that's what we're trying to help them understand is, can we accelerate the timelines of that project?
Yeah, President Marcos was looking at 6 months for the problem to be contained, to be more manageable.
What exactly do we want here? We want to make the flow of traffic faster. Can that be done?
Right.
Yes.
Great.
So many attempts in the past to do that, and so far, not much to say about the problem. The problem's still there. In fact, it hasn't even, I would say, got a little more, a little worse.
Because of the volume of the vehicles.
Volume of vehicles, there's no limit. There's no pulling back the number of vehicles, being sold every year. So all sorts of vehicles are in there, big bus, small bus, family transportation, family cars, government cars, etc., public transportation. So, in fact, I think what exactly do we want for EDSA? What exactly?
Yeah, look, great question. I mean, EDSA is a major artery, if not the major artery, and it really regulates the flow of commuter traffic, whether that's bus transit. There's now dedicated lanes for bus transit, or whether it's integration of cars with motorbikes. But really, it is the heartbeat of the city. And as you quite rightly say, the amount of vehicles only is increasing, right? As prosperity improves, the livelihoods of citizens improves, they're going to want to buy a vehicle. And to get into the city, you're now having a greater population using the same road that was designed 60 years ago. And so the objective is to try and improve the condition of the road now so that the flow of traffic is much better. Road user costs are lower. The impact on the environment from idling vehicles is much less. And to do that, we need a strategic plan that looks at how we can get the best data available to target specific sections of the EDSA so that it minimizes the impact on the citizens.
And I've heard that your proposal will be much shorter than the 6 months that the president has directed DPWH to go about rebuilding EDSA. So how does technologies like LiDAR and satellite data help you assess EDSA in EDSA pavement condition and make it the process of rehabilitation quicker?
Right, great question. So we, at Anyway, leverage sort of state-of-the-practice technologies, and it's something that is evolving very quickly. With the advancement of artificial intelligence, advanced algorithms, machine learning, things getting smaller, more accessible, less costly. So we can leverage these technologies to obtain data faster. And data is power, right? If we have better information, we can make better decisions. So when we're talking about EDSA specifically, there's not mention of reconstruction. Reconstruction would be just complete, removal and then replacement. So what they're talking about is a slight nuance on that, which is rehabilitation, which means looking at specific areas of the 200 lane kilometers of the EDSA and targeting where it needs improvement. But what we're trying to say is, I think we need more information. So information is power. And if we can leverage LiDAR, which is highly accurate, we're able to obtain data extremely quickly, and then we're able to process that data even faster to then create a strategic plan that says, let's focus here first, or this is priority 1, 2, and 3, versus the current plan, which seems to be, let's just go in there, close the lane, and see what needs to be done. I think we need to put, the cart before the horse, not the cart after the horse.
Yeah, that's true. Well, for a layman, how would you explain the use of LiDAR and the other technologies
AI-driven
that you're
district
proposing?
survey.
Yeah.
AI-driven.
That's exactly right. It is so traditionally, if you did a survey, you would go out in the field using what's called a ball and stick method. Essentially, you've probably seen on the road where you have a bunch of workers holding a stick and another individual with a tripod, and they're triangulating the heights and distances of a project or an area. So what LiDAR is, it is harnessing essentially laser or light, and similar to a submarine, like a sonar, where it sends a signal and that signal comes back, and you can calculate how far something is based on that signal. So LiDAR is the same thing, but just using light or laser. So it hits an object and bounces back, and then you can calculate the distance that beam has traveled and turn that into how far away it is. But what you're then able to create is a digital, highly accurate, down to centimeter level accuracy, very, very quickly of the surface of the entire EDSA. And we'd be able to do that, harnessing LiDAR technology and gathering data of every lane on EDSA, and then converting that into usable information that says, this section is good, this section is bad, let's prioritize here versus there, and come up with a plan that minimizes the headache on local citizens.
So it doesn't mean that we'll be needing to close the entire length of the boulevard.
Can you imagine?
EDSA. No. Yeah, it will be chaotic.
Yeah.
So given Marcus's emphasis on minimizing commuter disruption, how will Anyway's targeted rehab strategy, which avoids unnecessary slab replacements, ensure minimal traffic impact during the proposed 3-month timeline?
Right. Yeah, complicated, isn't it?
Yes.
You have so many moving
I can't
pieces,
envision
so
it
many
yet.
moving
I can't
pieces.
visualize it.
You have lanes, you have dedicated bus lanes, you have intersections, you have traffic lights, you have police officers directing traffic. So the best way to move forward is with a plan, right? And if you are able to gather high definition data, convert that data into something usable, and then speak to all parties involved and target where are the biggest disruptions. So for example, intersections are major disruptions, right? The dedicated bus lane is a major disruption, but that doesn't mean it has to be closed. We can target specific areas, especially on weekends and evenings, that minimize the impact on the greatest amount of traffic. EDSA is always busy, but it's certainly busiest between the hours of essentially sunrise and midnight. And if we can then focus the painful sections to be rehabilitated during evenings and weekends, then that will disrupt the basic flow of traffic. The other thing that would need to happen is if, for example, we are closing a lane, so for us to do an inspection on the road to understand where we need to target our efforts, we don't need to close the lanes or the road at all. We're gathering traffic, as part of traffic. We're not closing down to sample. We're gaining that data using technology that is suited to the purpose or fit for purpose. And so when we can create a plan that will help disrupt commuter traffic, then that's positive. So if we can, there are proposals to limit or absolutely abolish tolls on the toll section to increase the amount of buses and sort of commuter traffic. I would suggest, for example, having police officers at every intersection, because if you think about a road and you have 10 lanes, if you've got 10 lanes of traffic or 20 lanes of traffic, if they're all trying to get off on the same one lane, there's going to be a bottleneck, and that's where traffic jams occur. So if we can alleviate those stress points by not necessarily interfering in those stress points at key traffic times, that'll help alleviate the overall project.
So, Alex, we are
Commercial
coming
break.
back with you. We're pausing for a commercial break.
And this break is brought to you by Meralco, ang liwanag ng bukas. SM, we've got it all for you. Union Bank, it starts with you.
Usapang OFW is the show that honors the journeys of our modern-day heroes, our OFWs. Join Chingmi Fernandez, John Dodson, and Rafi Ayang every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. to hear the real stories behind the sacrifices. Watch it live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune Now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok.
Want to hear from thought leaders shaping our world? Straight Talk with Chito Lozada and Montelibano dives into leadership, politics, and business every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Catch conversation live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok.
Ready for the hot takes of today's biggest issues? Hot Patatas with Vernon Velasco and Carl Magadia delivers the news that matters. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 p.m. Tune in live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune Now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok, where the real talk happens.
So mga ka-tribu, we're back and we're having our
Conversation with.
conversation with Alex Campbell straight from Canada.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
that's why.
Okay.
So, Mr. Campbell, why is it important to collect the
Right
kind
kind
of
of
data, the right kind of data that
Rather than just
for
a
the
large amount.
rehabilitation? Yeah,
Right.
for the project.
You know, as you well know, information is power.
Yeah.
And if we can collect data that is highly accurate and then utilize or harness, you know, the best parts of artificial intelligence and machine learning to help us process that data much faster, we can come up with what I like to refer to as actionable intelligence. So we are able to quickly obtain data and then create outputs that we can plan to implement that disrupt the traffic or minimize the disruption to traffic. So we are essentially creating information or obtaining information that we can help the citizens of Manila fix their road with a more targeted approach, right? And that's really what we're trying to do here is help Manila, you know, get through this phase of the necessary rehabilitation of the EDSA pavement.
So, Alice, once you've gotten all of this data, you then pass it on to the contractor of the project, the guy who will implement, or the group that will implement.
Right. I mean, great.
So
great
you're part of the project, or the entire EDSA project is data gathering. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes and no. I mean, we are a transportation consultancy, and we specialize in everything, you know, transportation. I'm a pavement engineer, and you know, power, knowledge is power, right? So if we can create a plan based on that data, that's one piece.
Okay.
The second piece is to make sure that, I'm going to say contractors rather than a single contractor, because it is such a large project. So contractors know exactly what needs to be done and when it needs to be done, right? That's one way that we can minimize the time to construct or rehabilitate, is that integration of knowledge sharing between the consultant, i.e. Anyway Solutions, and the contractor. But then the third phase would be, how can we provide project oversight during construction to make sure that all the pieces are aligned so that there aren't crews waiting for concrete to arrive from the plant, right? So that is inefficient. So how can we help with the efficiency of the project such that we can add value?
So if it's going to be, like, say, well, like, imagine if there's going to be like a consortium of companies that will implement the job, you will be the project officer or something?
I mean, that's certainly something that we have recommended, is having project oversight, whether that's called project management or some sort of role that would be something along the lines of auditing capabilities, where you're able to look at all the various projects that are ongoing. The thing with the EDSA is it's so complex and it's such a highly trafficked road that there needs to be a plan that minimizes that traffic disruption. It gets the job done, but also it's going to require focusing on multiple phases of the project at the same time. So that coordination effort is something that we could definitely bring to the table as experts in transportation projects.
So, Alex, how do you propose to use both destructive tests and what you call as non-destructive tests in coming up with-
Destructive tests and non-destructive tests.
in coming out with the right
What kind of jargon is this
information?
in construction or something? Or?
Yeah, so I can just clarify what both of those mean. So non-destructive testing, when you are gathering data, is like you mentioned LiDAR or something like ground penetrating radar. So you are like going to the dentist, for example, you're getting an X-ray of your teeth. So that's non-destructive. It's not hurting you, but you're getting valuable information
Then once
about
it starts to open
the
it,
structure. So we would do that for the road. So we're getting valuable information without hurting the road.
Okay.
So destructive testing would be, okay, do we need to then go in and take a core
Start
from
drilling.
the concrete pavement to see how thick it is or to see what's underneath? So that's destructive testing. And that is when you would need to close a part of a lane to obtain that data. And that's what we're trying to minimize, right? If you are non-destructive testing is easy. Well, easy for us because we are experts at it, but it's not disruptive. It's the testing which requires you to go into the field and get your hands dirty, which is necessary for this project. But how can we minimize that? Because that again is an impact on traffic and the project.
So during the construction stage, how does Anyways approach help mitigate the disruption of traffic when you're already doing the road work?
Right. So with a targeted approach, if you are, I mean, the initial proposal that I've seen, dating back decades when this project was discussed to rehabilitate, was an approach that would close a lane or lanes and then understand or try to determine what it is they need to do. And that's not the right methodology. What you should do is come up with a comprehensive plan before you go into the field to close that lane or that section of a road to then implement the strategy that you have developed. So the way that we are minimizing is by phasing any closures so that it disrupt traffic the least.
Okay.
Coming up with implementations that may not be required to replace a slab. So concrete roads are slabs of concrete, like a chocolate bar, right? There's little pieces along the road. So for the most disruptive is to replace a slab and cast a new slab, because that firstly takes a lot of time, and then it also takes time to pour the concrete and then let it cure. But that isn't necessarily the right strategy for that lane or that section. There may be strategies that are less invasive. It could be a matter of putting a seal on top of it, or grinding down the surface and putting on a new wearing course. There are strategies that don't require full replacement of the slab. Only time you would do full replacement of the slab if it is completely distressed, cracked, and failing. But that is not the majority of the EDSA.
Alex, let me ask, have you done a similar project anywhere else
Yeah, sure.
before?
If you look at pavement asset management as a proud Canadian, it's something that was really, developed by Hudson and Haas, in North America and Canada. So this concept of pavement asset management has deep roots within Canada. So my sort of ability to learn from some true experts in the field, academics, and then bring that to projects in the Philippines, for example, in Papua New Guinea, not too far to the east of you, and other locations where we are rehabilitating concrete or rigid pavements in a targeted fashion to disrupt the traffic. Yeah, we've done it in many locations, absolutely.
So, how does your team factor in climate resilience and sustainability in designing the project solutions?
Absolutely. If you look at the Philippines in general, they are the most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change.
That's
right?
true.
And that climate change typically is increased rain or storms, right? So those, increased rainfalls, storm surges, very, very significant rainfall. That is what is impacting a lot of the roads throughout the country, but certainly in Metro Manila, right? And so a lot of the project proposal is to look at how we can get rain, water into the stormwater system faster. And a lot of that has to do with understanding, whether there is any infrastructure under the roads, specifically on the outside lanes. You'll see a lot of, service or manhole covers, a lot of drainage inlets and outlets. So are those compromised in any way? And we're able to understand whether they're compromised by using, for example, ground penetrating radar, which takes a look at the subsurface so we can understand whether there are any breakages or leakages or compromised drainage systems, and then target those drainage systems so that we can get water off the road more efficiently. The other element that we're looking at significantly is if the DPWH and the government of the Philippines is looking to just blanket reconstruct or rip out concrete lanes and put in new concrete, that is not environmentally sustainable, right? There are two elements for that. One is, where are you going to put the concrete that you're digging out? And why is it that we need to bring in fresh concrete, which is extremely expensive and is the largest contributor to greenhouse gases globally, especially CO2. So if we can then target more efficiently the sections or the actual pads or slabs to be rehabilitated, then that is saving both an environmental climate resiliency aspect, and then by focusing on drainage, then that's how we're integrating climate resiliency into the greater EDSA project.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, obviously, the purpose is to come up with a digital copy of EDSA. And how would this identify where you are going to start first? The priority of the rehabilitation of the road.
Right. This is where our team of brilliant Filipino engineers come in.
Okay.
Who are amazing at converting, our digital data that we create into, essentially a digital twin. What we're trying to do is create digitally what the EDSA looks like. And then we can use that digital twin to plan appropriately or to model, to throw in whether it's a work schedule into that model, or throw into whether it's flood analysis into that model, so that we can understand firstly, where to focus maybe some traffic efforts or to minimize the disruptions, to use that to plan better about where we should approach first, where are the pinch points, what sections are going to be problematic, where we should potentially focus on weekends and the evenings to disrupt that traffic. It's all about that integration of traffic management, constructability, and minimizing the impact of this project on the citizens. So it's coming up with a holistic plan of how to do that. And that digital representation and data allows us to be able to do that with the contractor, the client, and the government of the Philippines.
So say if you are awarded the project, how soon can you start?
Well, great question. We actually have a team in the Philippines. We undertake projects regularly in the Philippines. I myself, luckily, get to spend a lot of time there. So for us to mobilize takes no time whatsoever because we're already there. The other good thing is that with the advancement of technology, things become smaller. So what used to require a whole truck or a van to collect that data, now I could bring in my suitcase some special cameras, some LiDAR sensors, so it doesn't require that same massive mobilization into the field to be able to then obtain that data. So we've been talking about this project and obviously having driven on EDSA and our team members, living in the greater Manila area, we've talked about EDSA a lot. Every time we drive on that road, we have discussions about what we would do or what we could do to help, improve the traffic conditions and also the road user conditions. So yeah, we're ready to mobilize as soon as any word is given.
Oh, yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah.
But we need to end here since we don't have enough time.
Parting words,
Yeah. Can we have your parting words, Alex?
Alex.
Absolutely. Well, firstly, I can't thank you enough for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to both meet you. As a Canadian who is surrounded by Filipinos in the Greater Toronto area, and I travel into Manila in the Philippines to undertake projects, meet with clients. So I know the heartache that this project will create for the citizens. It is a highly charged project that needs to be well thought out, well planned, and I think the best way to do that is to harness technology that can obtain actionable data so that we can help the citizens of Manila and the government of the Philippines streamline this project such that we minimize the disruptions as much as we can. And so with that, I thank you so much for allowing me on this show. I hope that this project is undertaken successfully and, more importantly, efficiently.
Okay.
It's our pleasure, Alex. So that's all the time we have for today, mga katribu. Thank you for joining us as we explored global engineering solutions and the latest in infrastructure development with, anyways, Alex Campbell.
If you missed any part of today's show, catch replay on Daily Tribune's Facebook and Tribune Now on YouTube.com.
So catch Hot Patatas after at 3 p.m. and stay updated with Tribune News on Q every 9:30 a.m., 1 p.m., and 4:30 p.m.
Yeah.
So Ted.
See you next time on Straight Talk. I'm Teddy Montelibano.
And I'm Chito Lozada. Stay safe and stay informed.
And
Thanks.
Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat mga katribo at sa mga taga-subaybay natin sa Daily Tribune. Nandito po ulit ang inyong lingkod. Ako po si Manong Joe Saldariaga para sagutin ang inyong mga katanungan. May tanong ang isang netizen sa atin, Manong Joe, sinasadya ba ng Meralco na pababain ang presyo ng kuryente tuwing tag-ulan at malamig ang panahon? Napakagandang tanong, pero ang sagot ko po dyan ay hindi po ito sinasadya ng Meralco. Ang paniwanag po dyan ay simple lang. Ang cooling appliances tulad ng aircon, electric fan at refrigerator ay madalas may pinakamalaking contribution sa monthly bill po natin sa bahay. Kapag tag-ulan, mas malamig ang panahon. Mas madali para sa mga cooling appliances na maabot at panatilihin ang sinet nating temperature dahil malamig na rin ang paligid. Nababawasan din ang oras ng paggamit natin, lalo ng aircon. Minsan, hindi na kailangan buksan ang aircon natin dahil electric fan lang, sapat na at komportable na tayo. Ang resulta, mas mababang konsumo ninyo sa kuryente sa inyong bahay, mas bababa ang inyong electricity bill. Ngayon, kapag mas mababa na nga ang konsumo, bumababa din ang overall demand sa power supply. At kapag mababa ang demand, may posibilidad na bumaba na rin ang generation charge, ang pinakamalaking bahagi sa bill ninyo na may malaking epekto sa buong presyo ng kuryente. Kaya kung mapapansin ninyo, sa mga buwang malamig at maulan, madalas bumababa ang inyong power bill. Hindi dahil sinasadya, kundi dahil sa natural na pagbaba ng inyong konsumo at gayon din ang demand. Patunay dito ang naging paggalaw ng presyo ng kuryente ngayong buwan. Ngayong Hunyo, sa ikalawang sunod na buwan ay bumaba ang rate ng Meralco, halos 11 centavos ang decrease sa presyo ng kuryente dahil sa tapyas ng generation charge. Sana ay naliwanagan ko po kayo sa aking explanation na ito kung bakit mas mababa ang inyong electricity bill tuwing tag-ulan o rainy season. Para sa iba pang mga katanungang Ask Manong Joe uli, hanggang sa muli mga katribo at sa mga taga-sunod natin sa Daily Tribune.